with mental illness, Dr. Truman.
We think you're fit to stand trial.
Are you upset at this turn of events, or are you relieved?
No, don't even think about it, man.
I swear, Todd, if Spencer pulls off this crazy defense, there's only one person to blame, and that's Marty Saybrook. To hell with her.
Are you all right?
People back off. There's nothing to see here. Lower the camera.
Are you sure you're all right?
Yes, really. I'm fine.
Let's go back inside.
I think we got it on film.
I'll handle it.
She deserved it, Todd.
I'm not arguing with you, Claire.
Well, good, because you shouldn't.
What do you want to do?
I want to go inside and be left alone.
Okay, then I'll make sure you are.
How is she?
She's fine. Yes, she's all right.
Okay. You do remember you are my psychiatric consult, right?
Yes, I know. I was just helping a colleague. Would you like my evaluation of that woman as well?
Blair is not my concern right now. Though she's becoming a liability.
That photograph will not appear in the banner.
What are you talking about? I want it to be in the banner. I want it to be in the banner and the Sun. I want it on the front page, and if I had to do it over again, I would do it. I would do it over again. I'm not sorry.
You all right? Blair, you look so pale.
You know what?
Let me get you some water.
It passed, all right?
No, I'm going to
It
take you to the
passed.
emergency room. That's it.
Hey.
I have to help her. I have to.
Not now, Spencer.
I have to help her.
Not now. Just sit down.
I don't like this. What
It's a headache. Todd, that's
the hell's the
all.
matter with you? Yesterday you thought it was a tumor. Were you going nutso again?
It's not a tumor. This headache is Marty Saybrook is what it is. I just need to get some air.
Here, this.
Thank you, Vicki. Are you going to come with me?
Yes.
This room is sure.
Marty,
Hi, Vicki.
let me ask you. Are you really here in a professional capacity? Or is it just to cause trouble for my brother?
I know Todd thinks that everything I do, professionally and personally, some people plan to exact revenge on him. But he's wrong. I came back to Landview for my son. And this is home for us.
It hasn't been home for a very long time.
No. We've been living in California. But then I lost Patrick.
I'm sorry, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'm a single mother now, and it's a lot harder than I thought it would be. So I realized that I needed to be around old friends.
And you just happened to be called to testify at this trial.
Yes, I was hired, and I testified, and I'm good at what I do. If you think that I would jeopardize my professional career, something that I love, just to get back at Todd, well, you thought wrong.
I'd like to believe you.
It doesn't matter if you do. You know, this isn't about Todd. This case is about Thomas McBain and Spencer Truman.
Yes. Yes, I actually know that.
You know, and I can't believe I have to remind you, but I did fly all the way back here a few years ago to testify in Todd's behalf. And everything I said on that stand is true. I've moved on. And my life is difficult enough without worrying about the Mannings. I have a son to raise.
What Blair did was wrong, but I'm sure you understand how she feels.
Oh, yeah, I do. Only too well. The prosecution is trying to prove that I perjured myself, that I doctored my testimony for personal reasons.
That's Evangeline's job.
Well, she's wrong. And if there's one thing that I've learned, from all of this, is that you stand up for yourself. Especially when people are trying to knock you down.
All rise. The Commonwealth of Pennsylvania versus Dr. Spencer Truman is called to order.
Dr. Zimmerman, you did a thorough psychiatric evaluation of the defendant, is that correct?
It is.
When was that?
Yesterday, I examined Dr. Truman in the evening.
And what did you conclude from that evaluation?
That Dr. Truman is perfectly fit to stand trial.
I see. So, what in the world do you make of the defendant's emotional collapse in the courtroom yesterday?
Well, based on the transcripts, I believe the defendant was deliberately provoked by his own attorney. Based on Dr. Truman's psychological profile, I can say with absolute authority that Dr. Truman knows the difference between right and wrong and should be held accountable for the murder of which he is accused.
Objection. My client has not been proven guilty.
Sustained.
A simpler answer to the question would be that the defendant is in sufficient possession of his faculties as to be held accountable for his actions.
So, you believe that Dr. Truman is sane?
Yes, I do.
Thank you, Dr. Zimmerman. It's good to have such an esteemed psychiatrist consulting with us.
My pleasure.
Your witness.
You had never met my client, Dr. Truman, before yesterday, had you?
No.
And you spent how much time with him?
45 minutes.
45 minutes. A shrink hour.
Objection?
Sustained.
Withdrawn. Dr. Zimmerman, would you please read this highlighted passage of Dr. Marty Saybrook's testimony?
We had 6 sessions, enough for me to get a sense of his normal behavior.
Please continue to read the testimony that's marked.
I found Dr. Truman to be highly delusional, out of touch with reality, with his surroundings.
Thank you. Now we've just reestablished Dr. Saybrook's assessment of my client's mental state. She met with him 6 times, so let's see, that's the equivalent of about a month and a half of therapy, if you average once a week. Is that correct?
That sounds right.
And you testify unequivocally that my client is totally sane, fit to stand trial, able to make moral judgments based on all of 45 minutes with him?
Well, I was only called in yesterday. 17 hours with the defendant would not have been possible.
Of course not. No further questions.
What is wrong with you?
Does the defense have any other witnesses?
No, Your Honor. The defense rests.
Very well. I see no reason to drag out these proceedings. I've made my decision. It is the determination of this court that Dr. Spencer Truman is indeed fit to stand trial. We will adjourn for 15 minutes, at which time the jury will be brought back in and closing statements may be made.
All rise.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, Dr. Spencer Truman is an extremely intelligent, extremely accomplished, and an extremely dangerous man.
Wrongly accused and driven to the brink of insanity by events that have taken place since his arrest several months ago.
This is a man who shot and killed a police officer and then proceeded to convince his 15-year-old brother that he was the one responsible, causing him to spend his entire adult life on the run. If there is anything worse than a killer, it's Spencer Truman.
A man who reveres life, who heals men and women lesser doctors have given up on. He cures the incurable. He gives hope to the hopeless.
Far from the miracle worker he pretends to be, this man is a real-life Jekyll and Hyde, giving life with one hand and crushing it with the other.
25 years ago, a police officer tragically lost his life.
He was gunned down in cold blood, left in an alley to die, and then, after surviving emergency surgery, Officer McBain was, for want of a better word, executed by the defendant. Put yourself in Thomas McBain's place for a moment, looking into the face of his doctor and seeing his shooter helpless, doomed, and the only life Dr. Truman cared about saving in that moment, ladies and gentlemen, was his own.
Where is the proof? The testimony of the ne'er-do-well ex-con brother, a convicted felon? Or the bitter, disgraced ex-wife? Or Blair Kramer, the unbalanced ex-lover? Herself a virtual adulteress. Spencer Truman saved her son's life.
And then he manipulated that poor woman into turning against the man she loves.
A healer, not a killer.
A killer in the guise of a healer.
He used his undisputed gifts.
Not for good, but to literally get away with murder.
This entire proceeding has been nothing more than an elaborate attempt at character assassination. And I'm asking you to put a stop to it.
End this monster's reign of terror. Hold him accountable for the crimes he's committed.
The law says you cannot convict on the basis of hearsay and circumstantial evidence.
But overwhelming circumstance can't be denied. And it doesn't matter how many advanced degrees Dr. Truman has. He murdered Thomas McBain. So all he is a cop killer.
The untimely death of Thomas McBain was a tragedy, but not just for his family, for this man as well, who stands to lose everything.
Eve and Michael and John McBain have waited 25 years for justice. Don't let them down.
You have no choice. The prosecution's case is riddled with reasonable doubt, which means by law you must
Return a verdict of
not guilty.
guilty of murder in the first degree.
So, members of the jury, you have seen all the evidence and heard all the arguments of the attorneys, and you really only have two duties as a jury. Your first duty is to determine the facts from the evidence in this case. That is your job and yours alone. Your second duty is to apply the law that I just gave you to those facts. You must do this fairly and impartially. You cannot allow sympathy or prejudice or fear or public opinion to influence you. We await the results of your deliberations.
All rise.
Good action, sir. Let's go. Let's go. Come on. Let's go.
Comment on your relationship with Blair
Can you
Kramer.
tell us what happened?
A statement for our readers.